answer would be, if I were you, would be, you know, we have it sounds like an interesting subject. If you'd like to add this to a future agenda, our process is blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Because to me, that if you say we're going to add that to the next agenda, then you've not followed your own constitution, if that's what it talks about adding.
Right.
Unless your constitution says, or the board president can blah, blah, blah. Or, you know.
Okay. Right.
So know what your own policy is. If you want the latitude, if something comes up in the meeting, and you want the latitude of being able to say at that point, I think we should add this to the next agenda, then just make sure your constitution, I don't think that's a bad thing.
Sure.
But you need to make sure your constitution covers you. Because what if only you want to add it and the other people don't? That's not really fair.
Sure.
So you want to be on the same, just, you know, be in a good place on that.
Right.
But the problem is if you then say right there, we're going to add it to the next agenda, and it's not part of the Constitution, but you've made that promise out, now we have a different problem.
Certainly.
And I'm not your attorney, and I'm not going to help you with that. Yeah. But yeah, so just make sure you're a Constitution covers you. But I will tell you, and I'm not your counselors, the hardest thing to take is a hard meeting when people are beating you up.
Yes.
And it will happen.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, for some reason, when you decided to become an officer, like you're part of the Senate in Washington or something, they think you should just take everything. And you hear problems that have nothing to do with you, that you can't solve for them, or things that you can, but not part of what you can do. And it's hard to sit there and take it. And it really will make you better people. It really will. I promise. You just have to learn. I've worked for FCMAT for 13 years, and I've been called every name under the sun. Because remember, I get sent into places to fix them, and they don't want me there, right? They hate me when I walk in because I have powers that they don't think I should have. By the end, a lot of times they may not still like me, but they'll respect me. And that's what you can just hope by the end. If you can handle this stuff correctly, they don't have to like you. But if you're doing your job right, they will respect you at the end of it. And I like to believe it's made me a better person, and it can do the same to you. I've been called in the paper just some horrible things, and they only do the cuss words, not in the paper, right? But in the paper, you know, the whip and all these like horrible things. And so when I come home at night and something's been in the paper, my family just loves it. They're like, oh, today you're the whip, or today you're, it's like, oh my God. Now sometimes, if there's a legitimate, immediate issue, bless you, there are rules that you can act at a meeting, but I would say don't go there. For something to be that immediate, you better make sure it's really fitting in, and I bless you. It can get really touchy, people start challenging you. I would rather you stay away from this stuff, these weird exceptions. There's exceptions to every rule, of course,
Right.
but that's still, if somebody wants to challenge you and come back later, I would always recommend that people don't do it. So often, you know, we want people to register when they come to a meeting. We want them to register if they want to ask questions. We can ask people to fill things out, but remember, everybody has the right to attend a meeting and not have to register.
Yeah.
So we have to be very, very careful with that. You know, it's one of those things that will be challenged if you require it. And you may feel, well, we're just doing it because X, Y, Z, but especially in Marin County, because I've worked in Marin County for many years, people will challenge everything. Everything.
That is the truth.
And when I worked at the county office, which is like the place where people really come for complaints, they challenge everything. And so it's just better to just follow the law. Do it right. So do you guys have closed sessions sometimes?
We haven't yet.
Okay. So it's better if you don't.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you can if it's very personnel decision. But again, especially to student bodies, I would say don't. You know, if you can't talk about things in public, probably shouldn't be talking about it. You know, in your capacity as officers. Again, there are rules on closed sessions if you feel it fits, but just be careful. Even district and college governing boards get in a lot of trouble about talking things in closed session that they shouldn't. And I've sat in many a meeting where it starts going there, and then I'll just say, how do they get from here to there? And they always have they've pre-thought it. They've thought about how they want to have this subject in closed session.